Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya to the pillow. Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Lord Paramanandi Hari Hari Bol.
Srila Vidya Prabhu ki
Jai.
Dr. Alan Prabhu ki
Jai.
Is this the first time the two of you played together?
Yeah.
Just see, the first time.
Jai.
Prabhupada is there.
Perfectly blended. You didn't know where one
Ready
instrument
for
ended off
American
and the other.
Airlines Arena concert.
Next time we'll have to sell tickets to country.
Okay, Gurudev, sit there. We want to hear.
I'd like to make it softer, but this thing moves around. Try it anyway. Softer? But it kind of gets in the way with your hands. Anyway. I've been playing it 50 years like you have. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama. So we play cartoons. Who's good at cartoons? There's another pair here if anyone wants to. Okay. Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare
Jai. Vivo.
Om Jnana Chidananda Shah Chidanjana Shah Tasmai Shri Guru Maha Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Hare. Good evening, everybody. I asked Baladev if I should speak in Spanish or speak in English, and for some reason he preferred English. I don't know exactly why. Pero podemos mezclar un poco los dos. Pero, anyway. My name is Prabhupada Das, and I very much appreciate Baladev for His wonderful invitation to come here. It's very auspicious that now Baladev is living so close to the temple. It's great for us who live here because we can get a good night's rest tonight. We don't have to come. We go to these programs in the north. We get back at midnight, whereas I don't think we'll be that late tonight. It just takes no time at all for us to get. I hope most of you probably live pretty close by. Also, mostly not so close, but at least it's not as bad as coming down from West Palm Beach. Before I begin, I just want to, I don't get a commission for this or anything, but I just want to recommend a book that's published by the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, and it's called Rethinking Dharma. It was supposed to come out a whole year ago, and I was always calling the BBT, when is it coming, and it finally came out, and it's really an important book, actually, and help us have more, it'll help increase our faith that Prabhupada's version is right as compared to the modern idea that's there. But the modern idea is in flux. In other words, it's not that nobody is aware. There are many important scientists, and more are questioning they've been questioning it for a long time, and now with the recent discoveries of science itself, they're finding that Darwinism doesn't work too well. But what does work? That there must have been a designer. And what we're going to discuss tonight, oops, I don't want you to see this yet. What we're going to discuss tonight is is it okay if I just sit on the floor? Is that all right? Do you feel comfortable like that? Okay. That way you wouldn't feel bad, pretentiously high up in the sky. But I will be so bold as to take a little cushion. So, in Bhagavad Gita, what I'd like to do this evening is a little bit different than a typical temple class. We'll base it on a verse in Bhagavad Gita. I was thinking of 928. And but there's one aspect of the verse, and the main point in the purport is what is going to be our theme this evening. So we have a verse and we have a theme. And the theme is called goal. Having a goal. First it's having a goal and having the right goal. And is it like just a different goal for everybody, or do we all really share the same goal? And there's also variety in unity also, in that we all share the same goal, but within that goal we may have different goals. We may want to do different things for Krishna. Somebody may have as their mission, I want to cook for Krishna. In other words, I want to speak for Krishna, I want to sing for Krishna.
Gati Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasha Saranang Shri.
That's not how you do it. We chant one line.
Gati Bharta Prabhu Sakshi
Gatir Bhartu Prabhu Sakshi
Nivasha Saranang Surti
Nivasha Saranam Suri
Prabhupada Pralaya Yastanam
Prabhupada Pralaya
Nidanam Bijang Avayajam
Nidanam Bijam Avayajam
Gatir Bharta Prabhu Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi
Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi
Nivasha Sharanam Surit
Nivasha Sharanam Sudit
Prabhava Prayastana
Prabhava Palayastanam
Nidanam Bijam
Artyam.
Sorry, I really can't read it.
You guys are very closely related. Now I've had two experiences. There's 3 introductory points here. I've had 2 experiences that I can remember at least, where I asked a non-devotee, what is your ultimate goal? In both cases I was already trying to be a devotee. So I was trying to, quote, preach, unquote. The first was in Philadelphia, 1981. I was trying to get a car fixed. It turned out this person I was asking what his goal was cheated me very nicely. And he kept telling me that, oh, I have bad news, sir. We were fixing what you wanted to fix and we found something else that's a problem and we can't fix that unless we fix the other thing. And then practically I had to fix the whole car and it still didn't get fixed. And it was a big disgrace for me because it was Krishna's Lakshmi and it was really a bad scene. But anyway, before all that happened, I was thinking I would be a little compassionate, and I said, he was the owner of the garage, and said, what is your goal? And his answer was survival. And I think for a lot of people out there, they may answer in a similar way. I'm just trying to survive. I'm just trying to hang in there. I'm trying to get by. I'm just trying to make ends meet. Economically, especially, but in other ways too. Even rich people are, trying to survive in terms of the status quo, the prestige, or whatever. Now that was 81. Then going up to 1987, some years later, I was in Puerto Rico, and I was desperate to learn Spanish. So you talk about thinking, feeling, and willing. I had one service of driving the Sankirtan devotees to the airport, and then on the way back, I would always pass a big building, pretty big building that said Berlitz International School of Languages. So, and then I went for it. And I spent money and everything, this money I had collected. And I didn't learn much Spanish there. But I had a teacher, I paid for private lessons. I could have gotten a first-class teacher, but she was a lady, and I was thinking as a brahmachari, maybe I shouldn't have a lady teaching me privately, although it probably would have been better if I did it, because she really knew what she was doing. This young man, maybe he was a new teacher. So anyway, we were having conversations, and I said, ¿Cuál es tu meta? ¿Cuál es su meta última en la vida? What is your ultimate goal of life? And he looked at me and he said, a Chevy Trans Am, which in those days was like a very powerful, big engine Chevrolet that you can go across America like a rocket. That was his goal. That was his ultimate goal of life, was to get that kind of car. So I'm not making fun of it, but it is kind of sad that that's 2 out of 2. People just had these very shallow idea of what the potential is in human life, what the goal should be. So in tonight's presentation is for all of us to become peaceful and happy by becoming more introspective and more careful to, as Prabhupada would say, to mold our lives in such a way as to always remember Krishna and never forget it. And remember, I'm taking as an assumption here that our goal that we all share. I don't think there's anyone in this room whose goal is not Krishna. Maybe the little child, she's not sure yet. But all the adults that are here, I'm sure that we're all agree. Is there anyone here? Don't be embarrassed. Is there anyone here whose goal is not Krishna? We won't throw you out. You'll still get prasadam. Everyone is. That's called tacit agreement. Everyone agrees that we want Krishna. Remember, in the Krishna book, we have the foreword prefaced by George. Is in flux. In other words, it's not that nobody is aware. There are many important scientists, and more are questioning they've been questioning for a long time, but now with the recent discoveries of science itself, they're finding that Darwinism doesn't work too well. But what does work? That there must have been a designer. And what we're going to discuss tonight, oops, I don't want you to see this yet. What we're going to discuss tonight is is it okay if I just sit on the floor? Is that all right? Do you feel comfortable like that? Okay. That way no one will feel bad, pretentiously high up in the sky. But I will be so bold as to take a little cushion. So, in Bhagavad Gita, what I'd like to do this evening is a little bit different than typical temple class. We'll base it on the verse in Bhagavad Gita. I was thinking of 928. And but there's one aspect of the verse, and the main point in the purport is what is going to be our theme this evening. So we have a verse and we have a theme. And the theme is called goal. Having a goal. First it's having a goal and having the right goal. And is it like just a different goal for everybody, or do we all really share the same goal? And there's also variety in unity also, in that we all share the same goal, but within that goal we may have different goals. We may want to do different things for Krishna. Somebody may have as their mission, I want to cook for Krishna. In other words, I want to speak for Krishna, I want to sing for Krishna, I want to do so many different things. There's no limit to how many different types of missions we can have within Prabhupada's great and grand mission, representing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, powered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to actually save the world. Baladev Prabhu,
Yes.
do you happen to have a book called the Bhagavad Gita?
Yes.
That book comes from India. What's the problem?
No, I've got my guru's Bhagavad Gita.
I have one here, it's small.
All right, that's okay. It's all right, Father. Everything's cool. Oh, that's the upgrade. So going to the 9th chapter, 28th verse.
Ancient actions of the state,
Karosh as a series of devotion.
previous one was 27.
Oh, wait a second.
Maybe all ancient cities.
No, it's not. It's actually. Batu Prabhu Shakshi, isn't that the 9th chapter? There was this now coming. All right, I'm sorry. It's not the 20th verse. It's the 18th verse of the 9th chapter. Kartir Batu. You want to try to repeat this by hearing? See if you can do that. Kartir Bata Prabhu Shakshi.
Kartir Bata Prabhu Shakshi.
Share this. Give it back one. Sharanam, what is it? Nivasha Sharanam Suri.
Nivasha Sharanam Suri.
Baba Palayastanam.
Baba Palayastanam.
Nidanam Bijamabhyayam.
Nidanam Bijamabhyayam.
How's it start? Katir Batu Prabhu Shakshi.
Kartir Bata Prabhu Shakshi.
Nivasha Sharanam Suri.
Nivasha Sharanam Suri.
Baba Palayastanam. Nidanam Bijamabhyayam. Special welcome to Dharma Prabhu. Thank you so much for coming. All the days coming. You missed the part with the orchestra. We had Bhakti Allen was playing along with Siddha Vidya, and it was such an amazing blend. It's like you think they were rehearsing for hours. It's the first time they ever played together. It's very sweet, and you'll get a chance to hear that maybe in company. Anyone like to chant? Would you like to chant?
Katir Bharata Prabhu Sakshi
Katir Bharata Prabhu Sakshi
Nivasa Sharanam Sudrit
Nivasa Sharanam Sudrit
Prabhava Pralayasthanam
Prabhava
Jnanam Bijamavyayam
Nidhanam Bijamavyayam. One more.
It's the bottom one.
Gatir Bharata Prabhu Sakshi Nivasha Saranam Shri.
That's not how you do it. We chant one line.
Gatir Bharata Prabhu Sakshi
Gatir Bharata Prabhu Sakshi
Nivasa Saranam Suriti
Nivasha Sharanam Suri
Prabhupada Pralaya Destanam
Prabhava Pralayasthanam
Nidanam Vijam Avayajam
Nidhanam Bijamavyayam.
Katir Bharata Prabhu Shak. Katir Bharata Prabhu Sakshi.
Katir Bharata Prabhu Sakshi
Nivasha Sharanam Surit.
Nivasha Sharanam Sudit
Prabhava Pralayastana
Prabhava Pralayasthanam
Nidanam Bijam Art.
Akira.
Sorry, I really can't read it.
You got it. You got it. Pretty good for not being able to see it. Nidhanam Bijamavyayam. Okay, let's do the book. So the translation of that,
The number is 9 what?
18. I am the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything, the resting place and the eternal seed. Purport by Srila Prabhupada.
Ki Jai.
Gati means the destination where we want to go. But the ultimate goal is Krishna. The ultimate goal is Krishna. Although people do not know it. One who does not know Krishna is misled, and his so-called progressive march is either partial or hallucinatory. There are many who make as their destination different demigods, and by rigid performance of the strict respective methods, they reach different planets known as Chandralok, Suryalok, Indralok, Maharlok, etc. But all such lokas or planets, being creations of Krishna, are simultaneously Krishna and not Krishna. Excuse me. Such planets, being manifestations of Krishna's energy, are also Krishna, but actually they serve only as a step forward for realization of Krishna. To approach the different energies of Krishna is to approach Krishna indirectly. One should directly approach Krishna, for that will save two things. What will it save? Time and energy. That will save time and energy. For example, if there is a possibility of going to the top of the building by the help of an elevator, why should one go by the staircase, step by step? Everything is resting on Krishna's energy. Therefore, without Krishna's shelter, nothing can exist. Krishna is the supreme ruler because everything belongs to him and everything exists on his energy. Krishna, being situated in everyone's heart, is the supreme witness. The residences, countries, or planets on which we live are also Krishna. Krishna is the ultimate goal of shelter, and therefore one should take shelter of Krishna either for protection or for annihilation of his distress. And whenever we have to take protection, we should know that our protection must be a living force. Krishna is the supreme entity, and since Krishna is the source of our generation, or the Supreme Father, no one can be a better friend than Krishna, nor can anyone be a better well-wisher. Krishna is the original source of creation and the ultimate rest after annihilation. Krishna is therefore the eternal cause of all causes. Kam karoti pachalam, agum lakayate kim, yat piparta Muhammade shri Hare. So we will elaborate on the purport. We will not elaborate on the purport like point for point. It seemed like the purport started moving very quickly because there are so many items in the verse itself. It's like quite a list of different phenomena or entities that Krishna is, he's saying. It's almost like the chapter 10 of Vibhuti Yogis, was Krishna saying, among fish I am the shark, among so many things. Among the Devas I am Vasudev, among the fire gods I am Vashu, etc., etc. So many different Vibhuti Yogis. So in this section of chapter 9, there are some general ones. Krishna has just said, I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am also the Rig, Sama, and Yajurvedas. And Prabhupada in the purport, he talks about our relatives, our mother, grandfather, sister, brother, cousins, and he explains in different ways how they're all Krishna. You're kind of cute.
Take a picture.
I think you're on film.
Yes, I'm going to.
All right. So, anyway, horizontal, vertical, whatever. So the idea here is that, now it's not, we shouldn't think that, well, the list can just go on and just say everything is Krishna and it's all one. Yeah. Yes, in one sense it is all one, but it's also different. Sometimes it's described that Krishna is everything, but nothing is Krishna. Notice that in these verses, and in the 10th chapter too, and there's also in the 15th chapter, there are also so many things that Krishna says, I'm the what is it called? The effulgence of the sun and the moon, and that is actually my effulgence, and how by my energy the planets stay in orbit. In this purport and verse, we're hearing about the planets as Krishna. But there's not Krishna is everything, but nothing and no one is Krishna himself except Krishna in his primordial personality. So we know, what is that called in Sanskrit? That philosophical conclusion.
Achintya Beta.
Achintya Beta Abheda. This is the ultimate conclusion. For millennia, philosophers have been trying to explain the mystery of the one and the many. So the ultimate conclusion is that the Lord Sri Krishna, he's inconceivably, simultaneously one with and different from everything else. So in the purport, it moves very quickly, and Prabhupada is giving a very brief explanation of most of the points, but he does talk a little bit more, write a little bit more about the goal, Krishna as the goal. And that's what I really want to focus on tonight, and that's what I'm hoping that we can all increase our focus on the ultimate goal. That's the theme. That's what we're going to be dealing with this evening. And I'm going to try to suggest some practical ways that we can do that. Note that when we talk about goal, it's almost also in our context. I think everyone here shares the goal. We want to go back to home, back to God. Our goal is to attain Krishna. That doesn't mean that we become Krishna, but that means that we become sufficiently, how should we say, harmonized with Krishna. We become one with Krishna in a loving relationship, and that Krishna becomes more and more merciful and actually helps us and gives us intelligence, and that we come to that goal, and that we're actually go back to home, back to God. So in one sense for us, I think everyone here would agree that the word goal also, we can say destination. You know, when you get an airplane in this world, usually you say, what's your destination? They usually don't say, well, what's your goal? My goal is Paris.
Mhm.
No, so my destination is Paris. But in this case, I would say goal and destination are very closely related. Now, I've had two experiences. There's 3 introductory points here. I've had 2 experiences that I can remember at least, where I asked a non-devotee, what is your ultimate goal? In both cases, I was already trying to be a devotee. So I was trying to, quote, preach, unquote. The first was in Philadelphia, 1981. I was trying to get a car fixed. It turned out this person I was asking what his goal was cheated me very nicely. And he kept telling me that, oh, I have bad news, sir. We were fixing what you wanted to fix, and we found something else that's a problem, and we can't fix that unless we fix the other thing. And then practically I had to fix the whole car, and it still didn't get fixed. And it was a big disgrace for me, because it was Krishna's Lakshmi, and it was really a bad scene. But anyway, before all that happened, I was thinking I would be a little compassionate, and I said, he was the owner of the garage, and said, what is your goal? And his answer was, survival. And I think for a lot of people out there, they may answer in a similar way. I'm just trying to survive. I'm just trying to hang in there. I'm trying to get by, I'm just trying to make ends meet, economically especially, but in other ways too. Even rich people are, trying to survive in terms of the status quo, prestige, or whatever. Now that was 81. Then going up to 1987, some years later, I was in Puerto Rico, and I was desperate to learn Spanish. So you talk about thinking, feeling, and willing. I had one service of driving the Sankirtan devotees to the airport, and then on the way back, I would always pass a big building, pretty big building that said Berlitz International School of Languages. So, and then I went for it, and I spent money and everything. This money I had collected, and I didn't learn much Spanish, but I had a teacher. I paid for private lessons. I could have gotten a first-class teacher, but she was a lady, and I was thinking as a brahmachari, maybe I shouldn't have a lady teaching me privately. Although it probably would have been better if I did it, because she really knew what she was doing. This young man, maybe he was a new teacher. So anyway, we were having conversations, and I said, ¿Cuál es tu meta? ¿Cuál es su meta última en la vida? What is your ultimate goal of life? And he looked at me and he said, a Chevy Trans Am, which in those days was like a very powerful, big engine Chevrolet that could go across America like a rocket. That was his goal. That was his ultimate goal of life, was to get that kind of car. So I'm not making fun of it, but it is kind of sad that that's 2 out of 2. People just had these very shallow idea of what the potential is in human life, what the goal should be. So in tonight's presentation is for all of us to become peaceful and happy by becoming more introspective and more careful to, as Prabhupada would say, to mold our lives in such a way as to always remember Krishna and never to forget him. Remember, I'm taking as an assumption here that our goal that we all share. I don't think there's anyone in this room whose goal is not Krishna. Maybe the little child, she's not sure yet. But all the adults that are here, I'm sure that we all agree. Is there anyone here? Don't be embarrassed. Is there anyone here whose goal is not Krishna? We won't throw you out. You'll still get prashadam. Everyone is. That's called tacit agreement. Everyone agrees that we want Krishna. Remember, in the Krishna book, we have the foreword prefaced by George Harrison, because he donated $19,000 way back in 1969-70 to print the Krishna book. And what did he write? He said, actually, everybody's goal is Krishna. Everybody's looking for Krishna, because everything is ultimately Krishna, and they're looking for Krishna, but they don't know they're looking for Krishna. So the idea, that's why Prabhupada didn't call this the International Society for Krishna. He could have called it like that, but he called it what? The International Society for Krishna Consciousness. The idea is to become conscious that what I'm really looking for is Krishna. Even the very name Krishna is like the fulfillment of all sound vibrations. It's so nice. And Krishna even says, I'm the syllable Om. But then Krishna is Krishna. Krishna is actually, I think it's more fun. I don't know, say fun. More sweet to chant Krishna, Krishna. I remember the first time I heard it was before I met Prabhupada, and I just said, that's such a nice sound, Krishna. It just feels good, to say it. Krishna. Everyone tried to say it, and I said, Krishna, Krishna. Actually, there's no vowel after the R. We usually say Krishna, Krishna. But actually it's Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. There's no vowel after the S and between the S and the R. It's all right. But so we'll review some ideas, and it won't be too much out of line, and I won't be like stigmatized for this. There's a very, very good system of how to organize one's life and actually achieve one's goal. You see. And the man is very religious. He's a nice Mormon. And we have one godbrother who passed away not too long ago, Sridhar Swami of ISKCON. And he's very, very beloved sannyasi in ISKCON. Sometimes there was a big article in the BTG, and it's called the Jolly Swami. So he was an adept. He was one of the very, very, he was like licensed to teach the Kavi system. And he utilized that and greatly helped ISKCON fundraising and how to organize things by focusing on what the goal is. Now the supreme goal, we all agree, is Krishna. So the first thing is how to make that the center of our life, how to mold our life in such a way that that goal can be achieved. Now, although Kavi doesn't come out like in a religious mood, in the book, but he is recommending that everybody is at least principle-centered, that everybody should form their goals based on principles. And he implies that principles are not always relative. He is a religious man. So we'll maybe borrow a little bit from him and see if it can help us in a practical way. It's not exactly a workshop what we're doing here, but we'll see. We'll bring it there. Because someone will raise their hand. Well, how can I apply it to my life? How can I make, starting today, starting tomorrow, how can I actually really keep Krishna up front and make Krishna my goal in everything that I'm doing? So maybe we can take some suggestions. Remember that Prabhupada writes in Bhagavad Gita 266 purport, that's kind of the psychological verse of Bhagavad Gita. Nastir buddhir ayuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhavayata shantir ashantasya kutakshukam. Anyone know the translation?
I think want to attain peace.
Right, it's about happiness and peace. I brought my old English verses. I'll read the exact verse translation. 266. Here it is. One who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? Now, why am I quoting this verse? The goal is not mentioned here, but in the purport to this verse, Prabhupada makes a very famously states that disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal. You see, in other words, people in general, they get distracted. My goal, like in offices, I think they still do it. They have a sign or people say, "Thank God it's Friday." So my goal is to get through until Friday, so I have Saturday and Sunday. Maybe nowadays they make you work even harder because there's so much unemployment, squeezing all the energy. But say you have the weekend off, so that's my goal. And then before you know it, you got the Monday blues. You're back in the office again. And then again, my goal is to get through till Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Sometimes Friday is payday also. So that is disturbing. That doesn't, because underlying we're in a very anxious state because we know that life is short. The body is very, very easily finished, and will definitely be finished. And so, how could I keep going like that? Just having these temporary goals. What to speak of having a goal like an automobile or survival? We can't. How can you have a goal survival? I asked that man, "What is your goal?" He said, "Survival," but no one will survive. So in Bhagavad Gita, there are a number of verses that deal with, that include the term goal in it. Thank you. One doesn't have the term goal, but it's very, very related philosophically to 241, that one should be single-minded in purpose. One should have ekabuddhi, single-minded intelligence. Those whose intelligence is not resolute is many-branched. So the first thing, we should focus our mind on one goal. It doesn't mean that we don't function and we don't, deal with health issues and economic issues and all that. But everything we do should be subordinate to this one goal, which is to attain Krishna. So that's called Vyavasyaptika Buddhi, or Eka Buddhi, a single-minded intelligence. Then in 614, let's see, what I did was I picked out just 3 verses, so it will take less time. 241, what I noted here is, once we recognize and accept that we want to attain to Krishna and go back to Godhead, then we need to actually focus on that sublime ultimate goal. Now we have to do it, not like in the future. In other words, we must eliminate unnecessary engagements, recognizing them for what they are, distractions that only make it more difficult to control our minds. In 244, the warning is there that those who let themselves get distracted by material opulence and unnecessary sense gratification, then the resolute determination does not take place. Samadhi navidiyate. They will not be able to get this resolute determination and really focus on it. So all what we're doing, there's always the mind that we're dealing with. So if we want to achieve goals, it's my rascal mind is always distracting me. My mind is always going here and there, and I get too distracted by the different details of life that happen every day. And we shouldn't do it. And there are people like this man Kavi who help us, how should we say, overcome that kind of obstacle. Now in 614, it's similar to 241. 614, I'll just read that includes the word goal in the actual verse. Here it is. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, this is the verse describing chapter 6, the yoga system. I think we have some yogis here. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. So we have in 614 is that we need to actually decide, yes, Krishna is my goal. He is what I want more than anything else. Let me sacrifice, or at least reduce my involvement in other endeavors. Let me accept and reject things based on what is favorable or unfavorable for my increasing Krishna consciousness. In other words, I accept what's favorable and reject what's unfavorable for my development in Krishna consciousness. And that's also confirmed in Hari Bhakti Vilas. In the list of verses, another one is 1220, where Krishna says that he's very pleased if we make him the goal. What is it? He says that Yatoktam Shradadana Matparama Bhaktaste Tivame Priyaha. All these verses at the end of chapter 12, it's such a devotee is very pleasing to me. I'm very pleased with such a devotee is, my devotee like that is very dear to me. It gives a whole list of how the devotee is transcendental to the dualities, and he's not interested in even a dwelling place He's very, very renounced and focused. But then at the end he says, Bhakti te ativa. Ativa, increase it. He's very, very dear to me. So the translation is, he's very, very dear to me. And the idea there is that one is actually makes Krishna the ultimate goal of life very consciously. So that's another thing, that Krishna becomes pleased. He wants us to do that. In this verse tonight, we said, yes, I am the goal. And then Krishna becomes very pleased if we actually recognize that. And then he'll become more motivated, you might say, more reciprocate with us more. He's already reciprocating with everybody. But he's not reciprocating in such a way that he's bringing them to him. You see? He's giving them more facility, but unless they take it up, he reciprocates with them whatever they want to do. He fulfills all desires. But those desires are not always very good for our spiritual development. So, in the case of a devotee, Krishna takes care of it. In the case of the non-devotee, he takes care of it in a very global sense. He provides the human form of life, for instance, which has the ability to recognize what the real goal should be. He provides guru. He provides himself in the form of the deity. People can see him, even with material vision. He gives so much mercy. But unless someone takes it up, he, dwelling in the heart of everybody, guides them to fulfill their desires, even if their desires are not for him. In other words, it's not in Christianity or Jewish, they say, a jealous God. No, he's very liberal. If you don't want him, say, okay, you don't want me, it's okay, I'll help you do whatever you want. Sometimes parents are very liberal. If the child wants to do something that parents didn't really have in mind for the child, but if a parent is very liberal, okay, you really want to do that, go for it. I'll help you do it. So Krishna is that kind of parent. So in this regard, he's very pleased with those who aim for him. This idea of aiming for Krishna, making Krishna the goal. There's a very astonishing verse, you might say, in Srimad Bhagavatam 7:15-42. There are 18,000 verses, so there's unlimited nectar that we could find and that many of us probably have never heard before. Or if we read it like 30 years ago, we don't remember it anymore. So part of the verse reads, the pure living entity himself is the arrow, and the target is the Supreme Being. Now, this verse is relevant because the target, what is our target? Where do we want to reach? There was an airline that they had to shut down because of safety violations. A Guyanese airline. It was called Arrow Airlines. It had a big arrow. It's like the plane was like an arrow. So here the living entity, specifically the pure living entity, is compared with an arrow. Now from the purport, please hear this. When the living entity decides to go back home, back to Godhead, his target is Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When he is purified, however, he gives up his bodily conception of life and his false identity as belonging to a certain community, a certain nation, a certain society, a certain family, and so on. Sarvopati, Vinirmuktam, etc. Then he takes the arrow of his purified life, and with the help of the bow, the transcendental chanting of Pranava or the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he throws himself towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's quite an image. And you might say, well, it's not like an arrow, it's not actually going to hurt Krishna or something. But there is some concern about that, even from the stalwart commentator, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who has commentated, as Prabhupada quotes in the purport, that because the words bow and arrow are used in this verse, one might argue that the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity have become enemies. However, although the Supreme Personality of Godhead may become the so-called enemy of the living entity, this is his chivalrous pleasure. And then Srila Vishwanath goes on and gives the example of Bhishma Dev shooting arrows at Krishna. And Krishna liked the way those arrows felt, because it was such a loving relationship. He actually felt pleasure, and it was a chivalrous relationship. So it was like the more he got hit by Bhishma's arrow, the more he appreciated it. It was a chivalrous relationship. It was a very, we say, unusual, loving relationship. It combined, it borrowed some of the 7 indirect rasas. Anyway, it's a whole detail. But this was, Prabhupada also has another purport where he describes that. Okay. Similarly, if with the arrow of chanting the holy name of the Lord, one pierces Lord Vishnu's lotus feet. Now, doesn't that sound horrible? I'm going to become an arrow and I'm going to, like Jara the hunter, I'm going to pierce Krishna's foot. I don't want to hurt Krishna. I mean, what kind of devotion is that? But we read on. One pierces Lord Vishnu's lotus feet by dint or because of performing this heroic activity of devotional service. One receives the benefit of returning home back to Godhead. In other words, if we want to aim with Krishna, we actually want to pierce his lotus feet. We become the arrow. And as we take shelter of his lotus feet and we actually want to pierce it, it's not that we want to hurt Krishna. It's that we're so determined to make Krishna the goal, and it's a type of chivalrous activity. In other words, we could have man's body, woman's body. This is all like, what is it? Bhakti Tirtha Swami wrote these books called Spiritual Warrior. So it's actually very chivalrous. It's actually very heroic. It's an internal battle. And we should make ourselves into the arrow. And what was the bow? The bow is the chanting of the holy name. And we actually propel ourselves to Krishna's lotus feet. Don't worry, Krishna won't cry. It won't hurt him. In this kind of piercing, this kind of, you might say, taking shelter at his lotus feet. So that's a little unusual. I also found one verse that was not in the Bhagavad Gita, but an important verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. Kamasya nandriyapati labo jibati yabataha. What is it? Jigyasurapi jigyasa neha karmavi. Iha neha karmavi. That life's desire should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation, since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth. Nothing else. Oh, Hare Krishna. Should I start at the beginning now?
Start over.
Beautiful garments. They make wonderful garments here with the deities. And for guests too. One should, and since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth, nothing else should be the goal of one's works. You see? So Krishna is especially pleased with those who aim for him, as we've just heard. In this regard, there is, this verse, this verse 1-10 that I just read, draws the line exactly how much material endeavor is permitted. What was the line? It says what's necessary for healthy life and self-preservation. So it's okay to do a little exercise, but don't spend like 8 hours a day jogging. It's okay to, do yoga for good health, like physical hatha yoga, something like that. It's okay to I take vitamins. It's not like, that's like terrible to do that. It's okay, but for self-preservation, for health, that's the limit. What we need to keep the body and soul together in a healthy condition, and of course those of our dependents. That's the limit. And beyond that, there shouldn't be. How does the verse go again? Nothing else should be the goal of one's works. In other words, I'm working for understanding the absolute truth. I had that darshan with Prabhupada where I was later, and he said, you don't have to move into time. He said, I only ask one thing. What he asked me was simply try to understand Krishna. So it's not saying anything new. Yeah, it's nice that that said personally to me, but you said that many times, and then here it is. Krishna is also saying that whoever is to speak from this verse. So how do we do it? You see, how do we do it? We're focusing on the importance of planning our lives so we can actually achieve the real goal of human life in this very lifetime. And our lifetimes are going by so fast, and we're doing so many things in the day, how can we kind of like gather ourselves together, get our act together and actually focus and starting, say, tomorrow or starting tonight, and actually make Krishna the goal. And I along with Sridhar Swami and other devotees and people around the world, I'll just take a few key points from, this is a famous book, it's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, would you like to hear some of his suggestions, how we can do this? Is that okay? Can I have your blessings? Or is it off? It wasn't off for sure or something. So, he has the 7 habits, and I'll just take like 3 of his habits that he says. And it's a whole development, it's a whole system, and it makes a lot of sense. First of all is begin with the end in mind. That's called habit number 2. And that includes writing a mission statement. In other words, we should define for ourselves, what do I want? He gives the example, like, what do you want people to talk about at your funeral? You see, like, what is my legacy? What do I want to leave behind me? What do I want to accomplish in this lifetime? It's like, Prabhupada tells the story that he had an associate who was a very wealthy doctor, and the doctor was very sick. And the doctor asked the other doctor, just look, I'll give you $1 million US. Just give me 4 years more. I haven't finished my plans. So that's going to happen to all of us. It didn't happen to Maharaj Parikshit. It didn't happen to Maharaj Kadvanda because they understood these principles. They didn't have to read Kavi. It's C-O-V-E-Y, but it's not Kavi. So, writing a mission statement is not an easy thing to do. I started writing mine about 10 years ago, and I'm still trying to work on it. Go back and look at your mission statement. We all share the same mission. One said, why should we? We all have the same mission, to serve the Sankirtan movement and try to help Srila Prabhupada in his ongoing preaching through his books. And that's the mission, and to do the things that Prabhupada wanted us to do. Preach means prasadam distribution, Harinam, the holy names, and book distribution, and prasadam distribution of holy names. Well, those are the big 3. So, but then again, there it is. Someone may have as their mission prasadam distribution. Someone may have, in other words, Prabhupada did everything. He was. So, but we want to take up some aspect of his mission and serve. And so, what is my mission? According to my nature, according to my inspiration, there's something I want to accomplish. Of course, we all want to accomplish better sadhana. And we want to accomplish chanting the holy name authentically, we can say. And even how to do that, one may have a mission that I'll do that by increasing the number of rounds. Another one may have, we should all try to increase the number, but someone else may have some other ways of doing that. So, begin with the end in mind. In other words, I had an uncle, Uncle Charles, and he learned how to drive a car very late in life. And he once was driving, I had to go to Cornell University for some reason. So he was driving me out there, and he drove nicely. He learned recently. And I said, is it hard to drive a car? I was at the age where I wanted to learn how to drive a car too. And he said, what I do is when I'm steering the car, I look far ahead on the road. And that helps me, he says, that helps me steer. So I'm not recommending it that, I don't want anyone to have a car crash because they're looking too far ahead. But this is the idea, that we have to keep the end in mind. In other words, what I do today, what I do tonight, how I behave, shouldn't be like, let me take a little time off from my ultimate goal and my particular mission because I have plenty of time, I'll do it later. It's called procrastination. No, it should be immediate. Of course, this is a whole system, and they sell these timekeeper things, like they're sort of like day timers, but it's the Kavi system of it, and it's supposed to be very, very deep and very, very, very effective. And that gets a little too elaborate for most devotees to get into to that degree. But the idea, you have to have some system of planning. You have to have you have to write down, something. And when you're writing down what I want to do, he suggests that we plan week by week. He says that's the best thing. Instead of planning day by day, it's better to plan a week at a time. And then you can divide that into days. Nowadays on the computers, we all have a calendar on the computer in most systems, Microsoft. So put in your agenda the ultimate goal items. Don't just keep putting in things I have to do just to get by. Or even in devotional service, there may be certain things I have to do. That's okay. But don't let those things crowd out those activities which will more directly bring me to the ultimate goal. Like the 9 processes of devotional service, and then how to improve that also. Another habit he has is put first things first. Sounds a little like the other one. In this section, Kavi introduces the relative values of 4 quadrants. And I'll go through this very, very quickly. Quadrant, there are 4, a quadrant means like you have 4 squares, So quadrant 1 is called urgent and important. Quadrant 2 is important but not urgent. Quadrant 3 is urgent and not important. And what's quadrant 4? Not urgent, not important. We would call that tamagun. Like watching television. Like there was this song in the 60s, don't tell me I have nothing to do, smoking cigarettes and watching Captain Kangaroo, playing solitaire till dawn with a deck of 51. I was sitting next to a lady on the plane, just coming from Hartford, Connecticut, and I felt so bad for this lady. She's an older lady, and she had a computer. Usually, older people, you don't go around with laptops that much. But she had her own laptop, and I was looking, what is she doing on the laptop? I was curious, and she's playing solitaire, a card game that one person plays. And she's doing that for the whole plane trip. And it's just sad. An old lady should have a better goal than just to distract myself. And some people do these silly anagrams and crossword puzzles and things like that. That would be quadrant 4.
Yeah.
Not urgent, not important.
Waste of time.
Unless you're a fireman, you don't want to be in quadrant 1 either. You don't always want to be putting out fires. It's something very important and very urgent. You don't want to be too much in quadrant 3 because those are things which are urgent but not important. The things you can't avoid doing, like going to the bathroom or something. Or say you're working at a desk and get a whole bunch of mail every day. So it's kind of like relaxing. You take your letter opener and you start opening. Most of it is junk mail. And you do this, you waste about 20 minutes, and a lot of it is just unnecessary. You can look at it, you can see it's junk mail. Why should I open it? Just get rid of it. Things like that. Meetings could sometimes be like that if they're not conducted properly. It could be big time wasters. So we don't have time to waste. The goal, where is the goal? Where do you go for the goal? So we can also think of, I mentioned quadrant 4 as like the mode of ignorance. Quadrant 2, that's where the gold is. That's where we want to put more of our time in quadrant 2. What is quadrant 2? Quadrant 2 is very important. In other words, it's important because it connects with my mission. And in our case, it connects with trying to go back to home, back to God, and helping others do that. And it connects with serving Prabhupada's mission. We all have that in common here in this room. So it can apply. It can apply very, very nicely. And that we would call sattva gun. One of the things people do in this book, there's a whole breakdown of what are the characteristics and what are the typical kinds of activities in these different quadrants. After the class, I can show it to you. You can make copies of it if you want. But and I don't work for Kavi. I haven't even looked at that. One of my own agenda items is look at the Kavi book, apply it, become more focused on what your real goal is. So there's a lot of good stuff in it. But quadrant 2 is the goal, because quadrant 2 includes planning ahead. In other words, if you create you take out a fire trap, you remove a fire trap, you won't have to spend time putting out fires. So planning to avoid future disasters, that's a quadrant 2 activity. That works a lot materially, but it could also work spiritually. Quadrant 2 means I'm doing those things which are not urgent. In other words, say I want to learn more verses, so I can do it tomorrow. I don't have to do it today. Better do it today. In other words, put in your immediate schedule what you really want to do in your heart of hearts, what you want to accomplish before you die. You do it now. Maharaj Parikshit didn't wait till the 7th day. He didn't say, okay, let me finish up my business, and I have all kind of administrative work. I have to hand in a financial report to my people. I have to do this and do that, and so many things. You know, I have 7 days. He had no problem. He even stopped urgent but not important, called eating. Eating is urgent but not important. You could always eat tomorrow, the next day. You see? He stopped sleeping. Sleeping is very urgent. I gotta crash out. I'm so tired. Oh man, it's urgent, but it's not important because the animals also sleep very nicely. You see? So he gave up all those quadrants and he just focused in quadrant 2, because it wasn't called quadrant 2 in the Bhagavatam, but essentially that's what he was doing. He was just doing what, and actually for him, I guess you can say it was, each day it was a little more urgent. But you can say it wasn't, you can say he could have waited another day, could have eaten something. But like that, he just, what to speak of that sage I mentioned this morning in class that had the long hair and lots of hairs, and he was going to live as long as he had hairs on his body, and he only lost one hair on the day of Lord Brahma, and he didn't even want his disciples to build a little hut for him, because he didn't want to be distracted. He was just going for the goal, for the gold and the goal of becoming completely Krishna conscious. He didn't want his disciples to bother him by building a hut around him. Let the rain come, let the sun on my head, it didn't matter. He just wanted to focus. So I'm not saying that sounds a little fanatic. We may not have that ability, but that's kind of an ideal example. We can say our sadhana is quadrant 2 activity, because that's something which, of course, for us it's also urgent because we're supposed to do it. But say you're living at home, and you could change sadhana, less sadhana, you don't have any temple president or anyone on your case, and your guru will be a little more liberal usually because you're living at home. It's not like you have to have a Bhagavatam class every day. In one sense you do, but it's not. You can say, well, we'll get that together next year or something. So quadrant 2 means that I make a deliberate decision to have good sadhana, because that will help me focus. And that will help me remember Krishna at the time of death. I mean, the goal for everyone, along with the other things I mentioned, is Ante Narayana Smriti. To remember Krishna at the time of death. There's a verse like that in Bhagavatam. I'll tell you about it later. And I'll jump to the last one, which is sharpen the sword. That's the 7th habit. This is called 7 habits of highly effective people. So we want to become highly effective people to spread Krishna consciousness and to become Krishna conscious ourselves. So what does sharpen the saw mean? It's kind of like doctor, heal thyself. In other words, sharpen the saw means that you must not sacrifice productivity for production. In other words, you have a goose that lays the golden eggs or something like that. Or Prabhupada gives the example that's there in the Nyaya. It's called the Ardha Kuhaka Nyaya. Half a hen. You just want to get the part that gives the eggs, and not the part, because we don't eat eggs, but not the part that you have to feed. So he thought he'd cut the chicken in half. Doesn't work. So let's say you have a hen, and for some reason you like eggs. So you have to feed the hen. Or let's give a better example. Say you're cutting wood, or you're chopping wood with an axe. You live in the country, and you're chopping wood. For all we know, you only have to take up the axe and chop wood where things going. So, price of petrol. So you're chopping wood, and you're chopping, and a friend comes along, taps you on the shoulder, and says, "Hey, Prabhu, did you ever think about sharpening your saw?" And what do you tell him? You tell him, "Well, I don't have time. I got to get all this wood chopped." You see the craziness of that? So that's why the 7th habit is called take time, put it in your schedule to sharpen your saw. That means, don't just, say, my job is to give lectures and preach, and I'm going to Trinidad very soon to do that. Well, I hope I have lots of opportunity to do it there. Probably will. So if I say, okay, let me preach and preach and preach and speak, that's good. But I have to sharpen my sword. I have to take out my cards. I have to review my verses. I mean, that would be an example how to prepare myself. In other words, if I say I don't have time to do that, I'm too busy preaching, but you will be so much more dynamic if you do what's necessary. Of course, good preaching, the best thing to do is to become really Krishna conscious. So therefore, I shouldn't sacrifice sadhana. You see, another way, or what else services. And there are so many ways. It also means, like, keep the body, you know, we've said it's okay, it's said in the verse, it's okay to keep the body in a healthy condition. I know that Jagya Purush, I was there a few years ago, he's the president of our temple in Manhattan, New York. And he gives the men under his care opportunity for exercise and to do things which are very good for the health of the body. And also the prasadam is absolutely super incredible, you know, tasty. But it's also, I noticed, everything is so healthy. Every type of prasadam he serves is very healthy. Now you might say, well, that's not very advanced. I mean, whatever Krishna likes, that's so. Yeah, they should honor the Mahaprasad. But at the same time, especially as we get older, one discriminates. Chanakya Pandit and Prabhupada quoted. He said, we eat for ourselves and we dress for others. Because the way we dress should be, it's a public thing. But what we choose to eat, like in my case, for instance, the copyrights told me don't eat rice, so maybe I should honor one grain of the rice because it was offered to Krishna, but I'm not, it's not like I'm duty bound to eat lots of rice, which is not good for my kind of body. So there's a lot more, you know, stuff. It's obviously it's a pretty thick book, and I'm not going to go any more into it. But the idea is, the main thing is that very effective people, they have a goal and they make sure the goal is worked on now. That the items that I put in my schedule and I actually fulfill that schedule are the things that I want to accomplish in this lifetime, not just things that I'm being pushed and I have to accomplish now. And part of being in that second quadrant I described is that you have less emergencies, you have less fires to put out. You don't become frenetic, you might say. So we're hearing from Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is many things. One of the things he is, actually he's everything, but he explains how he's everything, and one of the things he is the goal. And we should acknowledge that. We should understand that whatever I want, even if it's a Trans Am Chevrolet.
Pontiac.
Oh, it's a Pontiac.
Pontiac has it.
Oh, you're expert. Maybe you know this guy. Then that's also Krishna. Why is that? Because what is a car? It's earth, it's metal and stuff. So my energies. Oh, but it takes intelligence how to put that together. Krishna says, Buddhir buddhi matamasmi, I'm the intelligence of the intelligence. I'm the strength, I'm the ability in man. Purushan Rishu. So there's nothing about that car that's not Krishna. But we don't put the car on the altar and worship the car. But at the same time, an advanced devotee, he sees Krishna in everything and everything in Krishna. He never forgets Krishna and Krishna never forgets him. Krishna is very, very reciprocal. Remember, he's a person. I mean, he happens to be God, but he's a person. The fact that he's God doesn't mean he's not a person. And people really appreciate other people who pay attention to them and serve them and care about them and do everything possible to unite with them. You get really good reactions if you ever tried it. So I should try it more myself. So does anyone have any comments about anything I said or any questions? Is everybody befuddled?
Very nice. It's a very different kind of class.
I just try to throw in a little practical
I want
idea.
to thank you for the class. Very nice.
All I can say is that Sridhar Swami is an extremely well-respected devotee, and if he put in the time to learn the Kavi system and he used it in Krishna consciousness, it inspires me to at least check it out, you might say, and Thank you. I don't want to be a hypocrite either. Frankly speaking, it just occurred to me do something a little different for the class, and I had this book on my shelf.
Yeah, we need to sharpen
On
the
Krishna's shelf.
sword. We
And
need
I
to sharpen the sword.
Right?
Sharpen the
Sharpen the sword
Sharpen
by reminding me. This is sort of like a mission statement and planning. It's kind of like having a map. And like when you want to go somewhere, because now they have the global positioning system and all that. But basically we need to have a map. You need to see the big picture, and you are there, and you want to get there, and how am I going to get there? And that should be in the front of our consciousness. We should have that map all the time. And then we do things from day to day. And there was like that poem, a famous poem, I can't even remember who wrote it. And it says, "The world is too much with us, spending and getting. We waste our days, we waste our," like that, something like that. The person is lamenting how this lifetime is just being dissipated, it's just going by, and I'm not in control of it. So it's not an easy thing to grab the bull by the horns. The bull is the crazy mind. To be able to actually control the mind, it's obviously not an easy thing. But we engage ourselves, we plan. What does Prabhupada say in Bhagavad Gita? He says, a yogi is one who controls his senses according to his plan. So we have to be at least that much of yogis. The ability to have a plan, and we should make a plan which, okay, we have to do this, we have to do that, we have to pay the rent, we have some things we have to do. But you do that in such a way that it doesn't become like an excuse for not doing what I know I need and I want to do, and what I must do to please Guru and Krishna. And I must do it before this lifetime ends. So thank you for your acknowledgement. Is there no question or anything? Dharma? Dr. Allen? I think nobody has any question. That's no good if you have no questions. I mean, it's okay, but it's even better if you have.
What's the emphasis on quadrant 1? If you spend most of the time on quadrant 2, what time?
Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Name Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Name Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Name Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Name Namaste Sarvachite Ora
Hare
Varkadam ki, Mayapurdam ki, Gamai ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Samaveda Samahata, Chandrika, Anishanita.